Roads are covered with layers of snowfall. Lakes and waterfalls have been frozen solid because of the frigid conditions.
Imagine witnessing a tree suddenly spin, rain falling in perfect circles, or a mountain that appears to breathe fire into the sky. These aren't myths or tall tales. They are real moments captured and witnessed by people around the world. What if nature still holds forces and mysteries far beyond our understanding? Could these strange events be signs of something greater at work? Join us as we uncover them all, because if these phenomena weren't recorded, no one would believe it. Number 17. The iceberg that dwarfed a village. In the quiet fishing town of Ferryland, Newfoundland, the year 2017 brought a sight that left the whole world speechless. Just off the coast, villagers woke up to find a massive iceberg resting on the water like a frozen castle. It was so tall that it towered above every building, nearly 17 stories high. People began calling it the Beast of Ferryland. Tourists flooded the town, carrying cameras and phones to capture what looked like something from another world. Scientists explained that the iceberg had drifted unusually far south because of strong ocean currents and the melting of Arctic ice. But for locals, it wasn't just science. It was a rare brush with the power and beauty of nature. When the sun touched it, the iceberg glowed in shades of blue and white, shining like crystal glass. At night, the moonlight made it shimmer even more, and the sound of cracking ice echoed across the bay. The iceberg slowly melted away over time, but it left behind a memory that the people of Ferryland would never forget. But what if nature decided to show its beauty in another strange way, where rain could fall on one side of the street and not the other? Number 16. The border of the rain. Imagine standing on a street where half of you is soaked in rain, and the other half stays completely dry. That is exactly what happened in several places around the world when people witnessed what scientists call a rain border. It looks almost magical, a sharp line separating heavy rain from bright sunshine. Videos show cars driving through the border, dry on one side and wet on the other, as if nature had drawn an invisible wall in the sky. This phenomenon happens because of microbursts, small, intense downdrafts of air from thunderclouds that drop rain in a very narrow area. Usually, rain spreads widely, but sometimes weather conditions create a boundary so clear that you can actually see where the rain begins and ends. To those lucky enough to witness it, it looks like the heavens are divided into two worlds. Number 15. The tumbleweed invasion. In Idaho, one windy afternoon turned into a scene straight out of a movie. Thousands of tumbleweeds began rolling together, gathering speed until they piled up into massive walls that buried cars and blocked front doors. What started as a light breeze soon became a storm of prickly plants, an event that locals called the tumbleweed takeover. Tumbleweeds are light and dry, so they move easily when the wind blows. But when drought hits and the ground is bare, these weeds multiply fast and detach from their roots, traveling wherever the wind takes them. That day, the perfect mix of dryness and powerful gusts turned them into an unstoppable army. Within minutes, houses disappeared under heaps of tangled weeds, and people had to use shovels to dig their way out. For days, cleanup crews worked to remove the piles, filling trucks with tons of dead plants. Though it caused no major injuries, the sight of houses buried in bouncing weeds felt both funny and frightening. Number 14. Sudden hail from a clear sky. It was a bright summer day in the city of Novosibirsk, Russia, when families filled the beach to enjoy the sun. Children played in the water, parents laughed, and everyone was relaxed, until the sky suddenly darkened. Without warning, hailstones the size of golf balls began falling from above, pelting the sand and sending people running for cover. Within seconds, the peaceful day turned into chaos. This terrifying storm came from a sudden clash of hot and cold air layers. The warm surface air rose quickly, meeting freezing temperatures high above. In that instant, ice began to form and grow inside thunderclouds until the chunks became heavy enough to fall violently to the ground. The hailstorm lasted only minutes, but left the beach covered in white ice, as if winter had arrived in the middle of July. Dozens were injured, cars were dented, and tents were torn apart. Yet, what shocked everyone most was how quickly it all happened. One moment sunshine, the next a shower of ice. Number 13. The Locust Apocalypse. In the year 2013, Madagascar faced one of the most frightening natural disasters in its history. Billions of locusts swarmed across the country, darkening the sky and stripping entire farmlands bare. From the air, it looked like moving black clouds stretching for miles, devouring everything green in their path. Crops vanished within hours, leaving farmers staring helplessly at empty fields. The sound of millions of wings filled the air like a living storm. Scientists explained that a long drought followed by sudden rainfall created perfect conditions for locusts to breed in huge numbers. Once their population exploded, they moved as one unstoppable wave. The insects destroyed rice fields, corn and vegetables, everything that people depended on for food. The government had to declare a national emergency and call for international help to spray pesticides from planes. For the people of Madagascar, it wasn't just an infestation, it was survival against a living force of nature. The disaster left thousands hungry and desperate, showing how quickly life can change when nature decides to take back control. But sometimes, nature doesn't attack from the sky. It comes roaring down from the mountains. Number 12. Avalanche versus Cars. In March 2018, in the Elbrus region of southern Russia, nature showed its cold and unstoppable side. On what began as an ordinary day, a thunderous sound echoed through the mountains. A massive avalanche was descending. Within moments, tons of snow came rushing down the slope, burying everything in its path. Cars on the road were swallowed whole, disappearing under the white wave as people screamed and ran for safety. Avalanches like this happen when layers of snow on steep slopes become unstable. A small vibration, a loud sound, or even the wind can set them off. In this case, melting snow combined with sudden freezing made the top layer slide loose, creating a deadly river of ice and snow. Videos taken that day showed cars shaking as the avalanche hit, and for a few terrifying minutes, it looked like no one would survive. Miraculously, everyone was rescued. Number 11. The town frozen in ice. In 2019, the residents near Lake Erie woke up to a sight that seemed unreal. Overnight, fierce winds and freezing waves had turned their neighborhood into a frozen wonderland. Houses stood completely covered in thick layers of ice, glistening under the morning sun like crystal castles. Trees, cars, fences, and even streetlights were trapped in glassy coats up to 3 inches thick. It looked beautiful, but also terrifying. A town frozen in time. The freezing happened when powerful gusts from the lake carried icy water into the air. As the water droplets hit the cold surfaces of homes and objects, they froze instantly, layering again and again until everything became sealed in ice. People could not open their doors, and roads became too slippery to walk on. Power lines snapped under the weight, and residents had to wait days before they could even begin to clear the ice. Photographs of the scene spread across the world, leaving millions amazed. Some called it a masterpiece of nature, others called it a warning of changing climates. Number 10. The Spiderweb City. In 2018, a lakeside town in northern Greece became an unexpected stage for one of nature's strangest events. Residents woke up to find the entire shoreline wrapped in a silvery web stretching more than 1,000 meters long. Bushes, trees, fences, and even street signs disappeared beneath layers of silk. Underneath it all, millions of tiny spiders were moving, working together in perfect rhythm. It looked like something from a fantasy film, but it was very real. Scientists later explained that this happened because the weather created the perfect conditions for spiders to multiply. Warm temperatures, high humidity, and a sudden rise in small insects called gnats gave them endless food. With plenty to eat and no natural enemies nearby, the spiders bred rapidly and spread their webs across the landscape. Despite its eerie look, the phenomenon was harmless. Locals said the web shimmered beautifully under the sunlight, turning the town into something magical. Within a few weeks, the spiders moved on, and the silk began to break down naturally. Number 9. The Ocean's Foam Party. In 2013, Australia experienced one of the strangest sights ever recorded. After Cyclone Oswald swept across the coast, bringing strong winds and heavy rain, something unexpected followed. Thick, creamy seafoam began covering the streets. Within hours, beaches, roads, and entire neighborhoods looked like they were buried under soft snow. Children played in it, cars disappeared beneath it, and waves of foam rolled gently through towns like a white ocean on land. Locals laughed, calling it the storm that made the ocean laugh. But behind the beauty was science at work. The foam formed when the ocean's waves churned up a mix of dead algae, dissolved salts, and organic matter. When strong winds whipped these together, it created billions of tiny bubbles that piled high. The cyclone's force pushed this massive blanket of bubbles onto land, creating a scene that looked almost magical. Although it looked harmless, the foam could hide hidden dangers beneath, sharp debris or strong undercurrents near the shore. But while Australia was covered in foam, another part of the world was melting under the sun's fiery breath. Number 8. The day heat melted the world. In the scorching summer of 2017, parts of the American Southwest experienced heat so extreme it felt like the Earth itself was melting. Temperatures soared above 109 degrees Fahrenheit, turning cities into ovens. Streets softened, trash bins twisted, and even metal road signs began to warp. Videos surfaced of people frying eggs on sidewalks and shoes sticking to the asphalt. The world seemed to bend beneath the weight of the heat. This wasn't an illusion. The intense warmth was a sign of climate change reaching dangerous levels. Asphalt, plastic, and rubber all began to deform as temperatures climbed beyond what they were built to handle. Air conditioning units broke down, water bottles melted in cars, and birds sought shelter in shadows that offered little relief. Hospitals reported people collapsing from heat exhaustion. The event left scientists deeply concerned. Cities were forced to rethink their designs, using heat-resistant materials and adding cooling systems to fight back. Number 7. The Bouncing Manhole of Denver. In Denver, Colorado, residents were startled one quiet afternoon when a heavy manhole cover weighing nearly 250 pounds began bouncing on its own. It lifted, slammed down, and lifted again, over and over as if something alive was trapped underneath. Videos taken by bystanders showed the circular metal lid jumping with perfect rhythm, shaking the ground around it. Engineers rushed to explain what had happened. They believed that sudden changes in air pressure from underground pipes caused bursts of trapped gas to push the cover upward. But as experts studied the footage, they found that the movement lasted much longer and appeared stronger than any simple air release should cause. The pattern of bouncing was too steady, almost deliberate. Some locals began to whisper about something deeper underground, unseen tunnels, pressure pockets, or perhaps hidden mechanical faults. Whatever the cause, it was a rare and puzzling event that showed how little we know about the systems working beneath our feet. Number 6. The Circular Rainstorm. A video that took the internet by storm showed something no one could explain. Rain falling perfectly inside a circle, while everything outside it stayed completely dry. People stood nearby in disbelief, watching water pour down in a neat, round area as if an invisible dome guided it. Cars drove past untouched, while those who stood under the rain's border got drenched. Meteorologists studied the footage and found no easy answer. The most likely explanation was a microburst. a small but intense downdraft of cold air that carries rain in a focused column. However, what made this particular storm special was its perfect shape and precision. Usually, rain spreads unevenly, but this one looked carefully drawn, almost artistic. For many viewers, the sight was mesmerizing. The clear line dividing wet from dry seemed like nature's way of reminding humans how precise and unpredictable it can be. It left experts questioning if new weather patterns are forming as the climate changes. Number 5. The spinning neem tree. In a small village in India, a strange and beautiful event left everyone speechless. A neem tree, known for its sacred and healing value, began to rotate on its own. It wasn't a light breeze or a storm. The tree's entire trunk slowly spun, as if guided by invisible hands. People gathered from nearby towns to see it. Some prayed, believing it to be a divine sign, while others simply stood in silence, trying to understand what they were witnessing. Scientists and botanists who arrived to investigate were just as puzzled. Trees are rooted deeply in the ground and have no physical way to move. Yet, this neem tree rotated for hours without breaking its roots or branches. Some thought the movement could be linked to a soft shift in the soil or underground water pressure, but no clear reason was ever found. When the spinning stopped, the tree stood still again, as though nothing had happened. But while that tree amazed an Indian village, something far stranger appeared in the skies of China. Number 4. The city in the clouds. In the year 2015, the people of Foshan and Jiangxi in China looked up one evening and saw something that froze them in place, a floating city in the sky. There, among the clouds, stood clear outlines of skyscrapers and tall buildings, as though a ghostly city hovered above the earth. The sight lasted several minutes, long enough for thousands to capture it on their phones. Scientists later called it a fata morgana, a rare type of mirage caused when layers of air at different temperatures bend light, creating distant reflections. Usually, such illusions appear blurry and brief, but this one was different. It was too sharp, too detailed, and far too large. That is why many people began to wonder if it was more than just a mirage. Some believed it was a reflection of a nearby city projected by unusual weather conditions. Others whispered that it was a glimpse of another dimension or a future world. Whatever it was, the city in the clouds reminded humanity how vast and mysterious the atmosphere truly is. A place where light and air can paint pictures beyond imagination. Number 3. The moose that ran on water. In the wild lands of Alaska, a group of fishermen found themselves staring at something they could never forget. Out in the middle of a calm, shimmering lake, a massive moose was running, not swimming, not splashing, but sprinting across the surface of the water. Its hooves barely seemed to sink, as though the lake had turned to glass beneath it. The fishermen caught the moment on camera, and when they replayed it, the water was clearly liquid. There was no ice, no trick, no reflection. Experts analyzed the footage carefully, searching for signs of editing or illusion. But frame by frame, everything looked real. Some suggested hidden rocks just beneath the surface, but the moose's smooth stride made that unlikely. The creature moved with ease, its reflection rippling below as though it were running on air. Scientists were left speechless, calling it one of nature's most confusing wonders, an animal breaking every known law of physics. But deep in the quiet deserts of Utah, another mystery waited to shine under the blazing sun. Number 2. The Desert Monolith Mystery. In a remote stretch of Utah's desert, helicopter crews on a routine mission spotted something gleaming in the sunlight. Standing tall between Red Canyon walls was a perfectly smooth, metallic monolith, its surface shining like a mirror, its edges sharp and flawless. No one knew how it got there or who placed it. It seemed almost otherworldly, as if it had appeared from nowhere. When people finally reached the spot, they found the monolith embedded deeply into the rock. There were no tracks, no tire marks, no footprints, Nothing to explain how such a heavy structure arrived in one of the most isolated places on Earth. For days, photos spread across the internet, sparking wild theories. Some thought it was a secret government project or an art installation. Others whispered about alien involvement. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the monolith vanished. No one saw it being removed. In its place was only bare stone and silence. Number 1. The Tornado of Fire. In California, during one of its worst wildfire seasons, firefighters faced a sight so terrifying it seemed unreal. A tornado made entirely of flames. The fiery whirlwind spun high into the sky, twisting with incredible force, its center glowing orange and red. The sound was deafening, a deep roar that shook the air as the burning vortex swallowed everything in its path. Known as a fire whirl, this rare phenomenon happens when intense heat from a wildfire meets fast, swirling winds. The air rises rapidly, spinning and pulling the flames upward into a giant spiral. But the one captured that day was unlike anything most had seen before. Hundreds of feet tall, spinning with such power that it uprooted trees and melted metal. Firefighters stood in awe, torn between fear and fascination. It was nature's fury made visible, a breathtaking mix of beauty and destruction. Though scientists can explain how fire whirls form, no words can fully describe what it feels like to witness one up close. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.